know a little bit about Carroll and the way that they like to play the brawl. They're very in your face, just kind of go at you style. However, Champlain says that they're kind of about the same thing here. They have a running joke of just saying, screw it, we'll brawl. If they don't know the comp, they're just running it no matter what it is. So I'm excited to see when things may get a little bit trickier, especially in a Rhino Orisa meta where it can be a little bit harder to dissect these fights and how you should take them. I want to see them grab that Lucio, grab maybe a Reaper or a Mei, obviously the standard Ryan Zarya, maybe even a Ryan Diva, and just push straight into them there.
Yeah, definitely one to keep an eye out for. And taking a look at their current rankings, or the matches they've had in this season so far, you've got Champlain University, and they're sitting with 2 wins, 2 losses, and they're coming off of a loss last week against Fresno State and an 0-3 nonetheless. However, Carroll has a pretty good standing for themselves. They're 3-1, and they're coming off of a 3-game win streak. So that is a phenomenal showing from them. Let's see if they can continue that to a 4-1, or if Champlain will completely deny any chance of that, and they'll bring themselves up to their first 3 wins so far. But like you had said, that brawl kind of heavy comp that both sides are kind of saying they're favoring, which quite honestly, I'm not going to lie to you here. Every note I've ever read for every team says brawl. So I just there's really, you can just assume just automatically they're brawl heavy sides, but
It definitely seems to be the favorite. I mean, it's very simplistic. Obviously, Overwatch extremely intricate game, but when it comes down to brawl, it's hey, let's jump in as 6, just run forward, utilize our resources, know what their resources look like, and just run forward and kill everybody. It gets a little bit more complicated when you jump into double bubble, Rhino Orisa, but something that's always tried and true, and it always at least had some spot in the meta, whether it's up here or right in the middle. You can always brawl if you don't know the answer. Can't guarantee it's gonna work, but it's somewhere on that spectrum to where it can if you play it right. So I'm excited to see both of these teams attempt to go at it here, but maybe, just maybe, Inferno, maybe they try and go for the double bubble. Maybe they try and spread out to the meta. I'd like to see a little bit of that too, especially if you're, on that losing streak like Champlain is. Maybe it's time to diversify. But if you're Carroll, you know what works. Keep it going, in my opinion.
We had taken out the loads for the Battle for Bama matchup we had last game. UAH said they kind of liked the double bubble strategy, and they said when they're not as comfortable in the brawl, but yet they brawled out with UNA, which was their more comfortable style. So we didn't really see that double bubble really come to fruition. So it's a little strange. I think that some teams just really aren't comfortable as they think they are, and maybe they look at someone who's destroying them already with a brawl composition and say, nah, our double bubble won't hold this. Just do everything you can with this current comp to try and fight it off and buy time. Hopefully we don't see that, especially on a map like Control, like Nepal, in a game mode like Control. It's really, you have to win your team engagements in those team fights, and you have to maintain that same level of intensity throughout the entirety of it. We did see this go 2-1 in the game previously. It goes all the way through to the last third map of it, or should I say like sub-map of it, but we'll see how this one pans out. I'm looking forward to it, and it's especially going to start off on the most environmental kill-heavy one there is, right here in the center.
Yeah, I'm thinking we will see a Lucio here, maybe that Orisa as well. Even a Roadhog for those hooks off the map. Environmental is so important when you look at control maps like Well, Nepal Sanctum, things like that. I think they really shine, and how you can get rid of a full hero without having to do much of any damage to it. I think we're going to see a lot of that from both of these teams. They'll rely on those environmentals, and when that doesn't work, once again, we'll either see that Orisa or that Brawl straight into the other side. I'm excited to get started here.
I am as well. I'm super looking forward to what we have. Taking a look at the lineups, it looks like we're going to see a Symmetra teleport. I don't think they'll probably stick to that one going forward, but it will get them to the objective faster. And we do have Lucios on both sides as an extra level of, boop off of the map to try and get that one going. Yep, there's the teleport coming. Kayatana just completely ignores it, just continues to run. They don't mind it at all, but the switch will be made. They're going to rock a Reaper and McCree, both sides rocking that shotgun in hand. We'll just have to see how it pans out for both sides.
We definitely will. You immediately see Duncan have to wraith back, as it looks like the side of Carroll wants to immediately take the high ground. I either want to see them drop down or force the brawl right onto the payload, excuse me, not the payload, the point, but Silent immediately gets a headshot on his Spackles. That spells trouble for the rest of Champlain.
Yeah, Carroll definitely taking that one in stride at the beginning, and now you've got Champlain who's kind of stuck below. A teleport will cross across, but it's going to be a firefight between Silence and, of course, between Duncan to see who's going to win that one out. And Hanzo has a lot of damage that could be had. A support now coming from Immortal to help that firefight. Duncan's going to have to step away. Looking worse for Wearing will fall to that fight. Immortality Field will have been placed down but destroyed quite swiftly, as it's going to look like Champlain's going to find themselves some picks. A shatter that almost knocks him off the map will go instead into the side of the stairs, and it's looking kind of funny here from the very beginning stages, but it does look like the objective will be switched.
It was so strange, Infernos. The red T, she was just left alone. You could tell that Silent and team wanted to brawl forward there, but the red T was left by herself, and the rest of Champlain just collapsed on her. She didn't get the healing she needed. Lasker threw a last-ditch effort Immortality Field, but it wasn't enough. Hopefully she gets the support she needs as she wants to brawl forward onto the side of Champlain and Martis themselves right now.
Yeah, Bitter Vet does have the Graviton available, so a firefight could go off of that.
There's
no one really available to eat that, but Red T will fall. An environmental kill from BioWolf will find out the opposition of Cayetana, and it's looking like the engagement's going to be taking a step back. Bitter Vet's side of Carroll University will take a full send back to regroup. Quite frankly, when both sides are nearing both their Shatters and their Gravitons, and especially when Silent has his Dragons available, it could be very bad. Dragon has come out with the grab. It's going to go. It's going to find one. Martis will fall as Bitter Vet takes out Herbie, and it's going to continue forward. Silent on Cayetana, the red T on Dakota, and Immortal wins the fight against Duncan, and it's going to go once again now, flipping the objective towards Carroll.
I think both teams knew that had to be the fight, Infernos. They had the grab, they had the Dragons. The beat drop came out. I would have liked to see Carroll try and swing into it, but the damage was enough. Silent ended up getting some Storm Arrows into the grab as well. Really popped off there. That was exactly the fight they needed to swing the momentum back in their favor, as they're still down about 20% here, but look at Champlain ready to go again as quick as we speak.
Fight will engage quite swiftly. They have a chance here, and it looks like BioWolf is going to go for the environmental. He's playing off that wall. Martis getting a little bit aggressive. He's playing from behind. A shadow will connect onto the back line as well as the front, and the Beyblade will go off. Immortal finds two off of the support. He'll get one with a shotgun in hand, and it's all Immortal in the red T in the feed. They'll find all but one, and another successful fight for Carroll.
BioWolf absolutely robbed there. The Shatter comes out, he boops the enemy Zarya of Herbie, and somehow the red T, she gets credit for it on the Shatter for the environmental. If I'm the Lucio in this situation, I'm already throwing after that. I need all the environmentals you can give me. However, Champlain back in it. They've got the ults to win this fight. Absolutely nothing on the side of Carroll here. Champlain needs to move in quickly before Silent can get these Dragons back and try and swing these ults in their favor.
Gonna be a hard-fought battle. 92% on the objective. They're gonna have to do everything they can to push back. Martis going in aggressively. Will almost get booped off, but the Nano's gonna go into the Lucio. What is happening here? Koda's swinging in. Immortal will find one with the red T. Dragon strike from the opposition. Duncan and Spackles find three, and it's gonna be Duncan who falls to Immortal, but Immortal's looking worse for wear. He's still alive by the skin of his teeth, but Bitter Vet will fall into the drink, and the last fight of the match will go that way. It's gonna be Champlain who takes the objective back for their side, guaranteeing them the ability to hold on to this one.
They're hanging on as much as they can here. Spackles and Duncan absolutely popped off there just like they needed to. Those DPS really pulling through those ultimates, especially after what you've got to assume was a whiff on the Nano onto Coda from Cayetana. But Silent immediately comes out with another DPS pick. Already in this round, he's been able to come out into these fights and get an early pick, but here comes the Shatter from Martis. Walk me through it.
Martis will take the shadow, but he'll fall too hyperextended, and it's not going to be enough. A Graviton will not connect with any, just a way to buy time, in the wasted Dragon behind it as well. Not gonna matter, however, as Immortal and Bitter Vet will take the fight to the point. They switched. Herbie sitting height with the Hammond will fall. Spackle's only able to find one. Red T will fall, but he's in a bad situation, being rushed and taken out by BioWolfie. That fight goes in the other direction. You finally have Martis making their way back, but they unfortunately will fall, and it's looking looking like Carroll will find the win here on this first point.
Spackles, Duncan, and Martis doing their best to hold for the last seconds, just trying to buy time for Herbie to get back on that wrecking ball. However, to no avail, it does fall, does turn to the side of Carroll, and you see them come out 1-0 here on Sanctum. We move into Shrine, and I expect a lot of things to change with this comp, Infernos. I think we see maybe a sim, someone stick with it. I think the Reaper stays, but I think now you can open up to like a more standard Ryan Zarya, or my favorite, keep the Wrecking Ball on a very spin-to-win map like Shrine can be.
Yeah, definitely. And you have a lot more spacious air, so a lot more in terms of heroes in that regard. You do see the Echo being brought out by Duncan, which will give them that aerial advantage, but no Mercy to kind of back that one up for that extra bit of support. So you're going to have to rely on Kayatana to hit those heals from that long range and make sure that Duncan can stay in the available spot to be healed. We do still see Immortal on the Reaper, did a very good job of it previously, and it's going to have to see if that success will have to continue. Fight going on into the actual Shrine area. They're trying to fight him off towards the steps. It's looking like Champlain has taken most of the control, and the brawl continues. A double beam kill from Duncan will find two, and the fight is looking like Champlain's gonna have it. Duncan finding their third, but Spackles will fall to Lasker.
Look at Duncan popping off with the aerial assault here, recognizes that Silent and Immortal unable to deal with him as far as any hit scan is concerned. He gets the double focusing beam kill like you mentioned, ends up topping it off, gets the kill onto the red T. She falls, and the rest of it is just bad news for the side of Carroll. Champlain take this already about 20%, and look at the ult economy here. Martis almost ready to go with a shatter right there in the oven. Kayatana almost ready with the nano as well. I want to see them deal with a little bit of poke here and then try and build up these DPS ultimates, but Carroll University immediately wanting to move in here.
Red T also has theirs up, but they're slapped, and the slap makes the shatter connect. They'll find as Martis takes Red T out for the fight. Silent may have taken Duncan out, removing 1 DPS, but the fight continues onward. Bitter Vet finding out Martis getting over hyperextended. A boosted Lucio again, as Kayatana will take it on Dakota. They're really pulling that one out constantly and consistently, but Champlain looking good in that fight, but not to be outdone. Carroll gonna continue to try to stay in this one. They're still being aggressive on. Their tanks made their way back. Both of the Ryans have completely gone. Garage door down. Fight continues onward. Immortality field placed it behind, but the grab will land. It catches all of them. There's no one there but the swing. Swing, Ryan, swing as Martis tries to find success, but it'll be Herbie instead.
Herbie finds the kills, and what a grab from Herbie there. Kayatana and Koda on this constant synergy with the Lucio Ana. I'm not sure if we can continue calling these nanos a whiff, Infernos, or if we just call it a meme at this point. It seems like they know exactly what they're planning here. Koda not necessarily popping off on the Lucio, but if I see a glowing blue Lucio in my sightlines, it's at least serving as a distraction while Herbie gets a fat grab in front of my team.
Yeah, 92% on the objective. They're just going to rush straight into it with the support, dropping the beat, everything going in as their own grab hits as well. But Immortality Field will try to save the red side. It's not going to matter. Martis finding the red T out, and also a second under Lasker do. Everything coming up blue in the kill feed as Champlain once again takes it in stride. One player just trying to contest the objective. That's going to be Biowolfie, who falls instead, and it looks like a 100-0 for this objective.
And we have absolutely changed paces here on Nepal. Infernos, we went from seeing Carroll look pretty dominant on Sanctum, and it was the absolute opposite as far as Shrine was concerned. Champlain not only did their job as far as each of their individual heroes were concerned, they won that 100-0, did not leave any room for Carroll to make space, even get on the point at all. Able to take it 100-0. I'm excited to see how Village works out as we get a lot more close range here, a lot more brawl centric on this very closed in point.
I think right now the biggest difference we saw from the first to the second there was the fact that Red T, she had a phenomenal showing in the first map, but in the second it was all Martis. He came out of nowhere swinging when needed, and that extra support from Duncan on that aerial play was all they needed to say goodnight. We are seeing Immortal pulling out the Junkrat to help support on that extra bit of shield damage, and if you take a look at their player stats, they do actually favor that Junkrat as one of the DPS choices, so they are well versed on how to play it, and they're already finding success going into the back line with some of those damage bullets. Silent, very low on health, but it'll be Martis who falls first. Bittervet finding the kill. Swinging is going in as Red T will try to find herself a kill, but they seem to have the objective unlocked. Bittervet finding Duncan, and it's gonna be Carroll University who finds the objective first.
Carroll University find the objective first, and it's all on the back of Red T there. Bit of an overextension from her at the beginning. However, Lasker do with a fat immortality field ends up saving her life, and then the rest of it was history as Bittervet and friends were able to take out Martis there on that Reinhardt and then really pave the way onto point. What I want to see in this next fight is Carroll University use that Lucio in their favor, immediately brawl onto the right side, cut off the line of sight from Silent, force it onto point and get him off of that high ground as quickly as they can, because it's going to be a problem here if Champlain can't immediately get in without getting picked.
Champlain taking the aggressive stance on the side. Red T will take a sleeping pill. She will fall as Martis charges to finish off the kill. That's a one-man advantage made to two as Silent falls to Spackles. Oh no, a Junkrat tire will find Martis. The tank for tank now out. Spackles finding Immortal wins on the actual refrag, however, and it looks like Duncan and Kayatana will clean up the last few stages. Just Biowolf really there to contest, but a dragon that's thrown, which was kind of a waste, but it does actually kill Biowolfy. But still not the most necessary ult in that situation.
Definitely not, and now the Red T, she is not in a good spot. Another overextension there. I'm not sure if she thought the fight was still going on or where they were at. However, that's gonna at least set Champlain up for some good time here, earn the percentage. They'll be able to set up on high ground and really dictate how they want this next fight to go. You can see here, they're immediately gonna get that recon arrow. Notice that they're pushing high ground, and to my surprise, they're brawling into them. I'd let them have some space and force them into me, but here comes the amplification matrix, but another big grab.
Ooh, Dragon comes from the opposition instead. It's actually going to hatch two. Koda and Kayatana, they will fall. They do not stand a chance against the Dragon in that situation, as Bittervet and Silent are able to get some as well. It's not looking good for Champlain. They're going to lose this one, and it's going to go back to Carroll. Back and forth for this one objective. The last map was a straight 3-minute success from one side, and it's not gone this way at all. This one, back and forth, the way we want to see it, and it's exactly what we're going to have.
Back and forth indeed. I'm loving the way that this control map is breaking down here, really letting both teams show off their individual mechanical skills and strategically here. You're gonna see immediately Spackles onto the Tracer off of that Hanzo. That's gonna really contest high ground against Immortal Winds, and he's gonna immediately be knocked off. The Red Team brawling forward onto Martis here, but Spackles finds the first pick.
A very important pick, but a grab will come out from Bittervet, catching quite a few. Spackles connects on a kill, but Kayatana will fall from Biowolfy with the support. They've managed to keep some of their players still alive, but a 96% charge on this point won't make a difference. An ult will go out. It's going to be Red T who falls. However, she will not stay alive long enough as Duncan finds a beam onto Bittervet. Continuing onward, Champlain will take the point, giving themselves the chance to fight this one back, but it's a 99% for Carroll. One take, and it's game over for them.
50% here for the side of Champlain. I'll tell you what, Infernos, if I'm Carroll, I'm smiling all the way through that death screen while we wait for spawn. Coda used the beat drop there right at the end. Not having that sound barrier into this potential last fight situation is going to be detrimental, and Carroll needs to take advantage of it immediately.
Unfortunately, though, we do see a shatter coming out, not actually connecting where necessary. Not enough going off of it. Kayatana, she'll find a kill in a Biowolfy. Fight going out, full brawl engagement, and a weird set of charges coming out. Spackles, full pulse bomb to the backside of Lasker. They'll fall as Duncan cleans up Red T. Immortal Winds and Silent, not to be outdone. We'll find Spackles and Herbie in tow, but it looks like a dragon coming out. Silent on a Spackles, and it's going to be a cleanup now. Back and forth action. No one side is necessarily winning. Martis with a fire charge and a Silent. He's trying to battle it out, but it's not going to matter. Looking like Carroll is going to try to find it. Last player of Duncan left. They will fall, and it's looking like Carroll's going to take it again.
The meme might be their demise. Coda gets another nano boost, but dies to the Junkrat passive. Herbie doesn't find anything but the Red T in the Graviton Surge. It's looking like it's all Carroll University now as the tire comes out just to protect the point. Overtime taking down the tire, finds two, and Carroll University take it. Infernos, these nanos, why are they going to Kato on the Lucio? I don't understand Kayatana. I don't understand the reasoning for it. But Carroll University take the side of Nepal here. They're up 1-0 in the series.
Coda getting boosted is more Lucio action than I saw in the entire last game, where one of the players did refuse to want to be called by his actual name and only wanted to be called Reddit Lucio.
And I love it, right? If you're going to send a Lucio in there and that Lucio is going to absolutely pop off. But, I mean, what we saw is Coda, at least for that last one, fell to the Junkrat passive. Junkrat died and ended up getting more value by killing the Nano Lucio. I've got to think that some things have got to change at this point. If I'm the side of Champlain, okay, ha ha ha. Okay, we nanoed the Lucio 3 times on Nepal. Hilarious, good meme. Let's buckle down. Let's win this series. We're halfway through the season here. We got to figure out what's next as we jump into the next map, because right now, something barely isn't working because we're right there at letting it work. Such a close map that Nepal was. All we've got to do is fine tune a couple things. We've got this.
Ha ha ha.
Ha ha ha.
Ha ha ha, indeed. Now, trust me, I'm a big fan of boosting your Lucio and going through that one. He not only is able to drop the beat, but drop the frags as well and be able to find some of those kills. But it's just not what you want in such a close map. You did take map 2 very successfully, and you did also boost Coda in that map, but you can't do it on the third when it's back and forth, especially in that last situation where it is quite literally just 2 players who fought off the rest of your team, and they took it. They won that fight, and they win the entire map because of it. You cannot make that mistake again. We're going to have to see if they're able to do that, because we're going to be heading over to a new map here, so it's going to be that much more difficult for them now to figure out what to do on Numbani, where Lucios can have a presence, but really and truly, you're going to need to actually boost your Reinhardts, your DPSs, to keep them and keep the DPS hot.
Yeah, I mean, like, I understand Nano for a similar reason of not, letting a DPS kill everything. Reinhardt doesn't need to swing forward with every Nano boost. However, what it's fantastic at, if you combine it with that Bio Nade, it is a ton of healing that is in an instant. That burst of healing is so critical, especially when the Reinhardts are playing mind games against each other. If I'm swinging forward on a 120 health Rein, and all of a sudden he's a 400 health Rein, there's a problem. And that's where Nano Boost really finds its value. Not necessarily if, oh, they shattered, now my Reinhardt's going to swing forward with this Nano Boost. That's all fine and dandy. But when you're able to sustain a tank, save a Mercy who's rezzing in the one-off situations, hit a tactical visor with it on a soldier, that's where it really finds its value. The Reddit Lucio, I'm sure it has its value as well. 3 times on Nepal, I'm personally questioning it. I don't know if everyone else is with me, but I want to see something, maybe just a little bit of something change here.
Now, sometimes you just kind of have to let the gameplay speak for itself.
True.
And quite frankly, that's exactly what happened with those Nano Lucios. It speaks for itself, and the score speaks for itself, and it's going to be something you have to keep in mind. For everyone watching, the colors have not switched, so it still will be Carroll University for the red side and Champlain for the blue. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, Unicorn, because I know that you like to do that because you like to believe that I'm always wrong, but in that matchup, the red T...
The gameplay speaks for itself. Go ahead.
The red T, the tank 4, the Carroll University side was pretty neck and neck with Martist, but it was the tank difference on that second map, that on Shrine, that guaranteed the win, the one-sided win for Champlain.
I think that the duo of Martis and Herbie were absolutely able to pop off. Now, if you remember, one of those shatters was because of Kayatana's absolutely stellar sleep that came onto the red T. She fell down to the ground unconscious, taking a quick nap. That was a perfect opportunity for that Earth Shatter to come through for Martis. So, not without the help of the supports, but I'm gonna have to agree with you. Otherwise, it was all Herbie and Martis in the kill feed, accompanied by Duncan, but without the space that those tanks made. I don't know if we saw the same Shrine that we did see if those tanks didn't pop off right there.
Yeah, you definitely going to have to worry about that now. But speaking of the lineups, we had seen Spackles or Duncan kind of opt for the Soldier initially. They didn't stick with it on the last map, but now we are seeing it being stuck with. So a Soldier 76 will come out. But if you take a look now, they're taking the low ground. Carroll's going to come from below. They're going to have to jump from the top side to help defend, but it's going to go to their side. Silent fighting. Kayatana, she'll fall, but Bitter Vet finds Spackles, the Soldier not getting full of support. Martis swings and finds Bitter Vet in tow. Swinging into the backside, Biowolf will fall as well as as Herbie on the Sigma will connect onto Laskardu. Silent, he's able to get an exit frag on Dakota, but it won't matter for long as Duncan will clean up in tow. And it's looking like the fight on the point between Martis and, of course, the red T. It'll be Martis who takes it in stride. Champlain winning the first engagement, and Martis is already at a 91% ult charge.
91 on that shatter, and you've got to thank BioWolf for it. Grabbed that mega, healed themselves with the bio nade, and so Martis had to swing 8 or 9 times into an Ana, which you don't expect to see. However, it happened, and man, that was so close for working out for the attacking side of Carroll there. They came low ground, forced the defense down, and then the brawl happened. That's exactly what they want. But speaking of what they want, the red T shattered, and that looks good for the side of Champlain.
Red T trying to go for another in that position, but it doesn't actually connect. They're going to try to step through, but it won't matter. The funnel finds success. Spackle secures the kill, but that Junkrat on the side of Silent will fall. He had a good position to get some of those, grenades off to the side to damage out and break shields, but it's not fast enough, and there's going to need to be a new situation now to think about. If you are Carroll University, you've got 3 ults. You've got a nano that you won't put onto a Lucio. You've got the gate, the garage door of that Laskardu Baptiste, and you've got the tire. That tire can be devastating if you take it from below. The question is, when will Silent pull it out, and when will it find that success? Gate goes down. Fight engages. A Sigma will ult as well. Herbie goes for the flux. He'll find down to the bottom of red T. It's going back and forth, though. Tire comes in. It's not going to find anyone. It's just pushing him off from the side. He's going to roll it around. Finds the Sigma. Finds both. Spackle spawns as well, and that's going to go. Carroll University takes the points.
Carroll University do it with almost nothing at all. They take it with the amplification matrix. Silent throws the tire just to make space, and it does exactly that. Allows the team to brawl and walk forward. Everyone panicking about the rip tire, but it was all Carroll University in the kill feed there. Champlain trying to regroup here. I like that they all get the short spawn. They're able to hold this front corner if they'd like to, or defer back to the bus. But Spackles, that's not where you want to defer to. Almost dying there before finding the stagger onto Bittervet, but does end up taking it. A bit of a close one there, as Bittervet could not live with that amount of charge. A good pick, but you'll see Carroll ride it, and here's what I want to see. Spackles needs to get on high ground. I want to see this nanovisor, Inferno. I want to see this nanovisor absolutely pop off from the high ground, because there is no one to deal with it.
Absolutely none. You'll have the Widowmaker trying to do their best. That Silent has switched to, but a Graviton will go to the 3 in the back line. From up above now, Silent's going to try to catch the others off guard. No kills gathered because of a successful hold there in the Immortality field to be able to keep them alive. But a 3 high noon from Immortal will find onto the back. The back line and DPS won't go. Immortal finishes it with a gun in hand as well. Bittervet will clean up the last 2. It is, in fact, a team kill, a team wipe for the Carroll University side.
Joke's on you. You thought it stopped working in gold. The flank noon is alive and well here in the NECC. Finds 3, combine it with the 4K after the headshot and body shot. Immortal wins, pops off there, and single-handedly walks it in streets phase for the side of Carroll University, and they have all the momentum to work with here. Just a couple DPS ultimates at bay to try and hold them off here for the side of Champlain, but Carroll has all the time in the world to get this in with 3:45 on the clock.
Look at the positioning here of Silent taking the back line, going to try and catch Cayetana off guard. Those healers in the backside are going to struggle into this one. When you let a Widowmaker take your back end, they'll take Duncan in stride. They're going to go for the others. They're not turning to it. They're not aware for the backside. Martis is forced to completely turn around to support Sparkles, heading his way as well. He's not able to get anything. He'll fall because he turns his back. Silent on a Cayetana, and that Widowmaker will continue to rain down terror on the backside as Bittervet will take the front completely in favor of Carroll, because Champlain let a Widowmaker take the back. Spackles falls again. That's Silent on top, and not so silent showmanship from him as he'll continue forward. Oh my goodness, a Graviton on the spawn will only find one, but they won't make it back in time. That's gonna go Carroll University to make it all the way and take that one with 2:55 left in the bank.
Martis not able to touch with that pin, and I've got to assume that's exactly what Carroll meant when they drew it up on the whiteboard in the dorm room. They got together and decided that was how they were going to push it, and it worked out. The flank noon paid off. Then you send Silent on an absolutely stellar flank on the Widowmaker there, just sits in the back line and clicks heads for a living. You would think it wouldn't work here, but it pays off tenfold as they cap Numbani with right at 3 minutes left on the clock, and the spirits have got to be high as they gear up for what I want to see, a full hold on defense here. They've got the momentum in their favor. I think they continue to use it on defense, and they don't give up any room.
One thing to keep in mind, however, though, for the attacking side, if they can actually push this one forward, which they are going to bring a Mei and a Reaper to try to do so, this brawl-centric, in-your-face attitude they're trying to come out here from Champlain is going to need to be able to find that success. For the defensive side, you have a Reaper as well, and you have Silent rocking the Hanzo for that long-distance firing, but the question is, how do you deal with the Boostio? How do you deal with the Nano Coda coming through? She'll try to find more than one, and hopefully she won't find herself once again taking the L and not able to find anything.
Hopefully not. For the side of Champlain here, the one thing that I do love is Coda on the Lucio. If there's one thing I want in my Rhine 1v1, I want one of them to move really fast all the time. The side of Champlain have that in their arsenal right now. More output as far as raw healing is concerned for the side of Carroll, but that speed on the Reinhardt means so much, especially when you want to push low ground and just get it started right on point like they do.
The fight will contest on top. The Rhine swinging into each other. Martis looking like he had the advantage, but the healers on the side of the red T, she'll win that fight. Immortal finding out Coda, she will fall, and a regroup needs to come through. Spackles making the rotation out of the Widowmaker. Silent brought it out previously. Spackles thinking they can do it too. We'll have to see how it works. The first fight coming from Champlain, not able to find success, and they'll need to change something up to be able to get going forward.
I love the Ana here from the side of Champlain. However, I think when I see that Baptiste, I immediately switch it up. Having that immortality field as an advantage for the defending team right now allows your Reinhardt to brawl for just a few more seconds than you would normally suspect he could. And that might be, in a lot of these fights, what we see turn the tide with that immortality field sustaining the red T.
Brawl goes in before, but it'll be the backside. It's going to go again. This is going to be Carroll finding out the tank, which allows for Spackles and Duncan to be removed from the opposition. The chase is underway. Silent catching Kayatana off guard. And the last two players remaining is going to be Coda and, of course, your Herbie. They're going to escape with their lives, allowing Martis to come back from the respawn, but you've lost too many fights back to back, and the red T has their shatter available. It's not looking good for this next engagement.
It's definitely not. I think Champlain needs to really just get their bearings, push low ground again, force the drive-by, get the shatter out of the red team, maybe even the dragons if they can, and then just go again. You know, get the one fight, make sure you lose it, get the shatter out, and then go again on the next one. But instead, they're brawling forward here. There's the shatter. Don't use any more ultimates.
Honestly, the shatter didn't even seem to connect, but it's not really going to matter. Bitter Vet comes through and finds two. And it looks like Immortal will have that Beyblade coming up, the Death Blossom available, but unfortunately, like we said, don't use the ult in this situation. Silent, not so silent on the kill feed, will find two. The players not able to escape with their life, and it's definitely showing they have not removed that sniper combination of the Ana and Hanzo on that secondary high ground. You have to remove them if you want any chance of pushing forward past that funnel.
And this might be the crutch that Champlain sees throughout the entirety of this season here. They can no longer brawl, right? Ult economy is not in their favor. They can't get away with it anymore. They need to send a Winston up to that high ground, but instead, low ground again. You see them trying to get the brawl done. They do have the personal barrier out of Bitter Vet. This could turn in their favor, but here comes the Grab Dragons.
Oh, Silent once again, 4 on the feed as Immortal will take one of them away from him. It's just going to be Kayatana. She's hiding out behind the desk. No, not behind the desk. She's out in front of the desk. He'll try to take Silent out. Will win the fight as well. A cheeky punch thrown in. Oh my goodness, Silent is definitely silent after that kill. Does not want to talk about it.
It's the small things in life, Infernos. You may lose the map. 40 seconds left here, but hey, you got the 1v1 onto the pop-off DPS player. Speaking it a 1v1s. The Rhine 1v1 is out. The double nanos are there. Martis has a freeze on his side. The red T, she ends up falling. The kill feed is lighting up blue right now. Bittervet gets caught in the grab after having a lot of charge and popping off. Coda finds the boop kill onto Immortal, wins, and it's all Champlain there to wrap it up. 15 seconds left. They end up taking point A here on this hybrid map. They're really going to have to show off on street space if they want anywhere close to a time that Carroll put out.
I'm telling you right here, I said you have to take control of that secondary, that tertiary high ground if you want to win that engagement.
Oh, absolutely.
And guess what? Silent gets killed by Cayetana. She wins that 1v1, and now there's no sniper on the high ground to completely decimate your attempted assault, and you win off of it. He's not there to help you. You just come in swinging, and you win the fight with some good ult charge.
Ooh.
Shatter, though, finding 4-5. It'll go in the other way as Immortal. He goes for the Blade. Blade will not get a kill onto anyone except for Martist. But the fight will go instead. Herbie switched over to the Roadhog. Will go for that shotgun and hook combo to try to find some kills, but it seems to go back and forth. Dynamite connecting onto 2, giving them a little bit of extra support, but they need to start thinking about pushing. You can keep them held at this corner, but you don't have to. You just have to stop them by the second pimp, so don't get too aggressive with it. Stay alive and keep your ults ready.
Bit of a rough Maywall there from Duncan. However, they've got the Blizzard, but Silent finds the head of Duncan, and with Duncan having no forehead, he has no life as well. Moving into street space, he falls, and it's all defense having the momentum. Looks like Spackles chooses to send the Bob out. Herbie does find the hook, and Bittervet falls. They may be turning this here as the anti also comes into the red T. Herbie wants to immediately brawl forward, but Herbie's antied as well. The damage reduction is all you'll get with that breather from Hog, but here comes the freeze and the Maywall onto the red T. The amplification matrix not going to be able to save it, and a huge shatter from Martis as he brawls forward there. Immortality field once again not saving anybody here. It's all Herbie and friends of the kill feed. They're able to snowball this streets phase after a fight Infernos that did not look good for them in the first place.
I'm telling you right here, if you're looking at that fight, the number one person to look at was Herbie, hooking, shooting, and punching out Bio Wolfie, immediately finding a hook kill onto the Baptiste of Lasker, and then finishing up with a shotgun for the kill after that. Herbie carrying that engagement with successful hook after successful hook, and showing they can do it without a hook as well, but watch out now. The Red T and Bittervet have ultimates. Shadow will go down and only finds one. Duncan will be slept, however, able to core up and some ice to save themselves, but the fight has to continue despite Martis being down. That Zarya shield will be charged as much as possible. Herbie will fall after charging it, and an unfortunate situation now as Champlain needs to figure out what to do in this situation because Carroll is forcing you back into your own spawn.
Definitely are, and I'm telling you, Infernos, if you don't kill Bittervet every fight, they have absolutely proven that they're going to get 100 charge, force themselves into the backline of your team, and be not only a nuisance, but an absolute healing shredder for the side of your backline. They're going to remove Cayetana, remove Coda from every single fight if they can get into the backline, and so far, Bittervet's able to do that. Just watch the charge that he's able to build time and time again in these fights.
Going to be a hard battle. Bittervet has it, pops it, catches 4 in it, and it's going to be a hard fight. Dragon comes through. It's going to catch one onto Spackles. The other ones are low as well. Only healer you really got to help you out is Kaya in the back, and then your Coda, but it's not going to matter. It's going to go all red in the kill feed, and Carroll take it once again. 45 seconds now on the clock. You do have 2 ultimates if you are on the side of Carroll, but they also have 2 for Champlain. They can blizzard you out. Bomb's nearly ready, and that shatters to keep an eye out for. How will this next engagement go?
Speaking of this fight and how it's going to turn out for the last one, Silent and Immortal are just able to consistently hold this high ground, rendering Spackles absolutely irrelevant on this Ashe. Speaking of irrelevant, Bittervet getting real cold there in the middle of that blizzard, falls, but here comes Immortal with the Reaper roll, able to find one in that Death Blossom, cleans up Herbie, and that is going to wrap it up immediately for the side of the attacking point of Champlain. Martis not able to use the Shatter here. Doesn't look like there's going to be anyone who can touch. Carroll University not only take Numbani for your second map, end up taking the series here for the NECC, and they're looking good. I'm loving Carroll this season. I liked them a lot last season. They're looking just as good.
Unluckily for me, I didn't get to watch them last season, so I'm getting to see this now. And yeah, you're right, they're looking really good, and it's phenomenal all around. There's that back-to-back high noon. We had seen the flank on Dakota. Herbie is nearly succumbing to him as well, but nonetheless, it goes that way. Martis did deserve those 3 gold medals. Phenomenal by him, but there's a reason why the 3 other cards on the sheet are all red on the feed. Carroll University, phenomenal showmanship, phenomenal plays from them, and it definitely shows throughout. I'm going to be looking forward to watching them going forward in matches to come, but we do still have one more map to come forward. It may be a 2-0, but we may be able to see Champlain College's JV team say, hey, we won't let them 3-0 us, but we will let them 2-1 us.
Definitely. I want to see them turn it around here. I think that they've got the right idea with what they want to do with a brawl, but they're finding situations like we saw in Embani Infernos. So when you have Silent, when you have an Ana over there from the side of Laskerdu and Biowolf, when you've got your supports on that high ground, there's only a few things that can deal with those heroes. That's a Winston. It's a diva. It's some sort of dive like a wrecking ball. It can't just be the standard Ryan Zarya brawl where you throw yourself onto the point because you've got nothing, not even in their case, a DPS with what they were running to contest that high ground. So Silent just gets to sit up there for as long as he wants. Eventually, one of those tree logs that he calls arrows are going to connect to a head like it did so often and absolutely turn the tide. And that's what we saw time and time again. Champlain had a good run on Streets phase, but they only saw 2, maybe 3 good fights for point 3 because of how long the initial hybrid portion of the map took them in point A. And I think it all comes down to that high ground. It may be difficult to think about if you're a team like that in that situation, but Silent holding high ground point A is what lost you point 3 because of how much time it took to capitalize on the situation.
Yeah, we talked about it, that 1v1 situation that we saw between Kayatana and Silent was what won it. I spoke about it after the fact. When he's not up there and able to have that DPS, that extra layer of damage from above, you're going to struggle. And quite frankly, that's exactly what happened. A lot of high ground is going to be a big emphasis on this next map, however, as well. We're going to be heading all the way over to Dorado. And the question remains, though, can the team that holds the high ground win the game? Carroll needs to have this victory if they want the 3-0, but I don't think Champlain's going to want to let it happen. They need that extra round win. They want this map win because that'll help them out no matter what for that map differential. So despite the loss and back-to-back losses now, they have a chance to at least stop the hemorrhaging slightly.
And I think when you're on a bit of a losing streak like Champlain unfortunately is, these map differentials, wanting to go 1-2 here, just squeeze out a single map if you can, is what is most important in a situation like this. If you get a rough losing streak at the beginning of the season and then you end up popping off toward the end, that map differential may be the decider of what does and doesn't get you into playoffs. They really want to capitalize on that here on Dorado. However, we speak about the brawl. It's going to be difficult to see that work in their favor on a map like Dorado. I think point A can work. I just think your rotations have to be clean with the brawl. You have to go around them. You have to take high ground from them. But Infernos, think about once you get to Streets phase. If you're the attacking side, how are you getting to high ground while also moving that payload? The answer is you're most likely not. And that's why we see these higher level teams. That's why when we go back to, Boise State, to Midland, to teams like that, we see them opt for these Winston Zarya comps. We see them opt for these Orisa Ryan, where one of those heroes can take that high ground and really hold it. And that's what allows those defenses to go so well on high ground centric maps. If you're running a standard brawl, you're once again going to find yourself in the sightlines of Silent. And that has turned out to not be such a good thing if you're the side of Champlain.
Yeah, Silent is not silent on the kill feed. Absolutely threatening to face off against. And it's just not what you want to have to see. Quite frankly, I think Carroll has a very good chance of going into this one. Like you said, the Streets phase will be devastating. They've shown a good job of facing off against. They flank. They're coming on the backside of the opposition. They do a good job of taking complete control of their surroundings and pacing themselves accordingly. But the side of Champlain has struggled with that. The only reason they made it through the Streets phase or the second pimp on the map previously is because Herb comes through and finds kills with the hook. carrying the initial push, finding success by pulling them closer to you, not allowing an escape for another fight to engage. It's the only reason they made it so far, and quite frankly, it's going to be hard to do that again, especially when you've got Herbie back on the Zarya, which wasn't as successful as it was previously.
And speaking of looking at these sides, at these comps, you do see Carroll University opting for the defense here, or actually the other way around. You see Champlain opting for the attack. A little strange, however, it is what we have in front of us. So Carroll gets to defend first, which is a pretty large advantage, I'd say. However, with that side swap, walk me through the composition here for the side of Carroll University on this defense, because what I'm seeing for attack, you've got the Grab Dragons from Herbie and Duncan. I love Spackles continuing to run this Tracer. I think he's really been able to pop off. Cayetana and Coda on their specialties, their Ana and their Lucio, we obviously know they've been in tandem. What are we working with here for Carroll?
You do have the Widowmaker back, sitting really far away as well to actually have a sightline chance. They're going to force Martis to have the shield up the entire time. You have that Junkrat as a way to throw damage onto the actual payload itself and really remove some of those shields and backline damage going off. And then you've got the shields of Sigma and Rhine. The ability to continue to toss out these shields from that Sigma Bitter Vet is going to be a bittersweet ending for the opposition. It's going to be very difficult. Next in with all of that, a speed boosted Lucio for extra support, and Lasker, who can really take some mobility to a next level. It's going to be hard. Duncan, however, will win the sniper battle and take Silent out. The Red T, she will fall, and it's going to continue to go around. Bitter Vet on the Spackles, and Herbie finding Bitter Vet on the refrag. It's looking like we're actually going to see Champlain take it pretty far, and I think they're actually going to take it to the first pip quite swiftly.
Martis is able to walk forward there after Duncan opened the whole thing up. When you don't, especially for a map like Dorado, when you don't have Silent on a Widowmaker able to cut off an entire sightline, it's free reign for that brawl you love so much, and you're able to run, and that's exactly what they do. They take advantage of that small window of time that they can brawl. It works out in their favor. You see them immediately pushing Streets phase, and this is what they have to do, right? They have to take space early if they want to deny that high ground. They have to force the fight onto the ground and really brawl out. This Nano and that Shatter does it as Martis is able to walk forward and just make as much space as possible. Immortal Winds throws out the tire, but it doesn't find anybody, and Bitter Vet is left running from Herbie on this high charge Zarya.
Not sure why Immortal Winds went for the tire in that situation. They've had it charged. They were the first ultimate to be charged. A very good job of having that up. But the fight that's continuing, you just can't bust out a little bit too early. You didn't find enough of your opposition's tank of Martis on that. You needed to play that a little bit better in the situation. But a grab will come out. Herbie on the big one. They'll swing around Martis trying to find everybody. The Immortality Field will save, but Sigma's ult, it'll come through. Gravitic dropping, and it'll be two that fall into the damage. Silent and Bitter Vet, they will fall, but a nice post bomb from Spackles to take BioWolfie and the Red T out. Herbie, the last few remaining player of Immortal Winds, will go. Lasker Doodle being played with like food, and it'll be Martis who cleans it up swiftly.
That was an absolute five-head move from Herbie there. Who was it? I believe it was Laskerdu who threw out the amplification matrix, and instead of allowing Reinhardt to throw a fire strike through it, Herbie says, you know what, you're absolutely right, let's go ahead and take the fight. Grabs them behind the amp window so that Laskerdu can't get those amplified heals onto the team, and that's how they're able to turn that fight around. The Gravitic Flux not able to make as much space as they originally wanted, and Herbie absolutely turning that fight 100% on his own here as we move into point 3. And now the kills are turning around for the side of Carroll.
Good job, though, here not to dog on Champlain at all after losing this initial engagement. They lost Martis to Silent on the McCree, and what is the first thing they do? Stop, turn around, and start backpedaling immediately. Good decision to not let them get any more kills. They did manage to find one, but not too big of a deficit. But don't intend to take that fight despite it. Shatter connects. Martis caught off guard. Will the heals be enough? Oh no, it'll be the Red T. She's way out of position. Will be caught off guard, and it's going to go the other way. Duncan finds it. Bad decision there by Carroll University, and it's going to be a rotated Graviton surge by Herbie. They'll continue the fight. Duncan on 2. Martis on the Bitter Vet, and the fight continues going forward. Last two players standing. Your Mora, Wolfie, and Silent. They're trying to escape, but it's not looking good. Silent falls, but not before taking out Spackles.
I'm not sure if that was the biggest brain play I've ever seen. I just complimented Herbie, but if I'm not mistaken, I just watched Coda boop the red T away from any sort of structure to boop Martis against or to pin him against, and instead boops him all the way in the back. It turns it around for the side of Champlain on the attack, and now you can see they're just steamrolling here, trying to clean up the staggers. The red T is back, trying to make as much space as she can, but Immortal wins. Her DPS has fallen. She's booped out of her own immortality field. Laskardu doing his best to keep the side of Bittervet and friends alive, but the boop knocks him off of payload, and they're able to cap with that. Good play there from Champlain. 3:30 on the clock, and this is a different Champlain than we've seen from the last two maps, and it's exactly like we talked about. This is what we wanted to see from them.
Yeah, it's exactly what you need to see as well. I couldn't hold in my laugh of the boop right there. It's such a nuisance to deal with Wrecking Ball with the Hammond coming through and just able to swing on the payload. It can be a difficulty to try and take them out, especially with the fact they have that shield and extra support. They're just a phenomenal tank in almost all occasions. Quite frankly, they're just annoying. It's just plain and simple, just taking them over the wall, just saying, nope, not today. Go for the three-pointer. You're going out to the left field. Exactly what happened. Removed any chance of them to continue to touch, and it was a phenomenal defensive hold for about 20 seconds of bot time, but the attack was not going to be stopped, and it was showing. The one fight they lost in that situation, I talked about decisive decision-making to say, hey, we lost Martis. Take the step back. We'll fight him again. And that charge from the red team where she messed up and went too far with Martis decided the rest of that pacing because they were staggered throughout the rest of the fight.
And it's all in an effort to keep Herbie alive, right? You want, I think you make that conscious decision very quickly and decisively, like you mentioned, because you want to keep the charge on Herbie. And I can't stress enough, I'll say it for the rest of the night, Coda and that boop knocks the red T into Narnia, the middle of nowhere, and then no one's there to support him. Or excuse me, no one's there to support it. They walk forward, and that's what turns it around for the attacking side, and the rest was just a snowball story. Coda gets MVP for the whole map, no matter how this turns out, just for that play alone.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal all around. We are going to see Spackles. Just as I'm talking about them, casters cursing it out. They weren't playing the Junkrat. They will actually revive it. I think that's actually a good decision despite it being so early in the fight, because that Junkrat's going to be a decisive factor in determining everything going forward. The push will come. Herbie will take out Lasker. Immortal will fall to Duncan, but the revive from Wolfie will bring Lasker back into the fight. The engagements will continue, and Spackles is continuing to rain down fire on the opposition to just remove any chance of these shields. Red T going for a charge, not finding that success. Spackles in the face of it, despite the fire charge connecting, and Martis is going in for the brawl, continuing the engagement. Roadhog Hook will connect. They're low, but the healers are there to support. No chance for him to fall despite dropping to about 50 HP. And Duncan will finish off that initial fight onto Silent.
Martis does fall low, however, it's a clean bubble from Herbie there. That allows Duncan and friends to continue getting picks here, and I'm not sure if Duncan decided to drink some of the Silent mojo there, but he's absolutely popping off of this Hanzo, showing that he is just as mechanically inclined as Silent is on this respective hero, and this is all the Duncan show for the last round and a half or so.
Great positioning there on Silent for that Dragon to actually force them off that initial high ground. It's not going to have as much effect as they initially anticipated because the payload has been moved to a position they would normally move to at that point. But Herbie close to the actual Graviton Surge. They have a chance to get everyone piled up. It goes off the second it's charged. Duncan has the Dragon. He's not going to opt to use it, however, and the fight's going to go the other way because of it. Kayatana reviving Martis, not letting the tank fall, and you still have ults in pocket. Martis has the hammer to be dropped, will drop it, finding four. They will get hooked away from the fight. Bad situation for Martis to fall, but Duncan finally uses the Dragon to take two. Oh my goodness, it's gonna go. He finds a third, Spackles onto another, and it's gonna be one-sided for this initial engagement.
The defense trying to single-handedly hold this after the tank's fall. Herbie opted to use the grab, but Duncan had just died to the side of Bitter Vet. There wasn't able to use the dragon. That's made it this brawly fight that you have in front of you. Herbie trying to hold around this fountain, stay away from Bitter Vet's hook. Speaking of Bitter Vet, he's got the whole hog. He's using it, but the beat drop is there in an effort to sustain the rest of Champlain. It's definitely come to fruition here as they're able to get back on payload safe and sound and brawl forward. But here comes the red T. She's back as the DPS and healer are not there as Immortal wins, comes out on the Junkrat and finds two. That's going to allow the red T space to brawl forward here. But Martis and friends have the Riptire from the side of Spackles. He doesn't find anything with it, but the Immortality field is down now.
Ooh, a massive shatter. They attempted, they traded tit for tat, but Red Team will get the better of it, and it's looking like they're going to continue to do so. Carroll taking everything in their option to push this one going forward. Phenomenal job of it so far. It's just Herbie to try and deny. Little to no HP, and no chance. They'll kill themselves, actually, in the process of going forward with it. And once again, they finally make it to this middle stage we've talked about before, where brawling is so difficult facing off against high ground heroes they have to face off against. Their one option to go for this is they're going to bring out Silent on the Widowmaker in hopes of it countering other players taking the high ground.
And I think it definitely will. Silent has definitely been a problem on this Widowmaker, but he's right now in a 1v1 against Duncan, who's been just as much of a problem. Duncan finds the pick onto Laskardu, gets a little bit of damage onto Silent, chooses to back out there quickly, but the brawl is still breaking out on the front line here. Cayetana, she's able to pop that Valkyrie. That's going to send the rest of Carroll packing for now. They want to go back to payload, count their wins, and try and move forward here, but Bittervet already with another whole hog. And look at Immortal. He lives in the kill feed, Infernos.
Absolutely disgusting to behold. Garage Wall will go up, combined with a, Graviton Surge and Dragon. Immortality Field will save the lives, however. Phenomenal by Laskardu with everything there. Silent finding Duncan. Herbie taking out the red T, but Bittervet will fall in tow. No tanks now left for that side of Carroll. And now you've lost Immortal. They'll bring back Bittervet, but it's a little bit too late in the situation. Biowolfie just trying to stop the hemorrhaging slightly, but you have the nice pull. It'll take the opposition of Martis, but it won't be able to do anything beyond that. Martis does have a shatter available. If they can catch him off guard, it will guarantee. He connects with one on the shatter. It's not enough as an Immortality Field will go down and the push will come to fruition. Immortal stepping up aggressively with the actual bomb. He'll try to get close, takes the high ground into Spackles. They'll trade between each other. One's pocketed, however, to help support. And now you see Champlain taking the low ground as Carroll will try to take high. Immortal now on the Riptire Dakota, and they're going to find one in trades. That's going to be a trade out as Spackle finds Immortal, not letting the co-finder Junkrat stay alive any longer.
Spackles finds Immortal with it, but not before Coda fell to a Riptire of their own from the side of Carroll there. They've got the payload. I want to see them continue to use. Wait a second, Cayetana already with another Valkyrie. She's absolutely farming on this Mercy. Herbie with his 18th grab of the round already. This is nothing but a brawl fest here as Bittervet is in the back line. He's finding it as well. His 17th whole hog comes out. The Valkyrie's there and it stops the res. Cayetana falls. Martis hits his 42nd and a half shatter. Brawling forward here is the defense, and they're able to at least, well, maybe stop Biowolf. Yeah, Biowolf falls. The defense holds for now. 24 seconds on the clock, and Silent finds a pick on Dakota, but it doesn't seem like they're able to break through the defense that is Champlain College.
You have a bad situation. The gate will come through. That's Laskardu's 27th and a half. And the red T has theirs as well. The shatter could come to fruition. They're taking the aggressive stance. They want it. They're getting in the face of it. They go for it. It doesn't connect. He got 3/3 of it on his 75th attempt, but it's not going to matter. They'll find one with a fire strike. Dragon coming from the backside onto the payload will force them off for a little bit longer, but it's contested. They're so close, but they have to make it a little bit further. Silent finds on the Duncan. Tynes on the Spackles, a double kill. Bittervet, not to be outdone, finds Martist, and the push will have to continue. They're coming in swinging as Carroll will find their way forward and does actually make it to the second pip.
Carroll University held their breath for that entire fight, and Silent just took a deep one, and then breathed out and said, hey, I've got this. Absolutely carried the fight. Some headshots, some body shots, really did a number on those tanks, and they were able to push forward here. A minute 15 left on the clock as they move to point 3. They won't be looking at the same time Champlain did, but they're just trying to make it at this point.
Hard-fought battle will have to be going on. Herbie does have the ultimate ready on the Zarya. They're going to peek around the corner now. Will they actually go for the pop here? Martis finds one in the Lasker dude, and a second swing onto the red team. Martis will fall, however, to a bomb in the hands of Immortal Winds, but they'll fall in tow. Silent as well. Everything coming up red in the feed. Champlain doing a phenomenal job of keeping them at bay, and they'll hold on to it for a little bit longer. 38 seconds on the clock, and Carroll has a long way to push it to keep it going forward.
I love that all of these DPS, at least in some aspect, have been matching each other for almost this whole series. Silent pops off on a Hanzo. Duncan shows us that he can pop off on a Hanzo as well. Immortal and Spackles going at it, whether it be a Tracer or a Junkrat 1v1. They constantly seem to be going one way or the other. But speaking of one way, Silent has found the kill feed all on his own here. He's popping off, but here comes the square root of 86 dragons for Duncan Wave. Duncan, QWE throws out another one here. The Graviton Surge comes out for Herbie. However, he falls before able to find anyone. Martis has it, but the beat drop, I don't believe, finds anyone but Kayatana. Will it be enough to get the res off? Looks like it will. Martis is back in the fight here at overtime. Got a lot of blue in front of him to get through, though. However, he does start with a pick onto the red T. She's on the ground via the Junkrat trap. The tire's here and finds 2, as the other tire for Spackles doesn't find anybody. The tire killed the tire, Infernos.
Very, very dangerous situation. Silent coming up with 3 on the feed. Carroll doing everything can to push it back way forward. Silent continuing his spree as Immortal will find Kayatana out. The fight will continue, and it looks like Carroll will get it all the way. They'll get 1 minute of extra time, but when you look at the opposition of Champlain, they've got 4:21, and they'll try to make it all the way. They have plenty of time to do just that. Carroll is struggling on this map. It is just not their showing, and it's just like we talked about previously. You can lose 2-0 in the very beginning stages on the 2 maps, but all of a sudden you show up and you show out on the 3rd. It's the best thing about Overwatch here and competitive, and it's one of the reasons why I enjoy casting it so much.
Understanding that it's not over until it's over, and I love it, Infernos. Neither of these teams making it easy on the other. Carroll refusing to back down from their potential 2-1. They want the full 3-0. Champlain saying, hey, we'll take a map out of this. We'll take everything we can get, and we'll scrape tooth and nail for it as they continue to fight here on Dorado. And man, have they earned the time bake that's in front of them. Excuse me. Duncan on this Hanzo, time and time again, has opened it up with picks. You look on the other side, Silent's done the same thing, whether it be a Hanzo of his own, the Widowmaker. Each of these DPS come into these fights, and they always started off with a 6v5. They are, once again, every single fight, able to find some member of the opposing team to go ahead and strike up that advantage. Then the fights get brawly and tanks start popping off, but I am loving this series from both teams. Neither are letting down to give us an absolute show here on Dorado for map 3.
It's exactly what you want to behold. They're going to go ahead and hop onto the payload, push it forward. 4 players keeping that one going forward. They'll be forced to take off as the high ground will give them a good sight line in to be able to be faced off. And the one big plays from both sides that we're seeing has been these Junkrats coming through. Duncan will fall on the Hanzo, but Kayatana won't let it stand. Spackles takes the opponent Hanzo as well, but they're not going to go for the revive just yet. Silent has a close enough spawn. Try not to waste that revive. And right now, Duncan uncontested on the high ground. They'll spot him and he'll turn, but in this situation, he does have a good chance to get away and get the kills. Spackles under the red tee. You've lost that tank, and now it's time for the punishment. They'll use the revive that they didn't waste earlier, but it's not really going to matter. Spackles will take your DPS in the back line. Herbie, however, will fall to Bitter Vet. 4 seconds now of time, and they'll have to stay on if they want any chance. It's one team fight for you to lose it all, and it's going to be that much more difficult going forward.
It definitely is, and you've got to assume with Bittervet taking out Herbie there, the difference of having a Zarya is gonna pay off for the side of Carroll here. You see Bittervet moving forward, trapped as of right now, but that's an early tire from the side of Champlain. Can it do anything? Luckily, the red T, she gets bubbled, and the tire is unable to find anybody, but Biowolf is right there with the Resurrect. I want to see Carroll continue to move forward and brawl because they've got to stay alive with Bittervet. That's all of their damage right now.
Oh no, Martis gets a shadow and actually kills, and Duncan will find the red T inside of the Dragon. Not looking good, tit for tat. Duncan finding another onto Silent, removing them. Immortal gets too high. He boosts themselves away and he gets off. Round 3 completes, and they only made it 75 meters. And it's not going to matter. 4 minutes and 21 seconds left for them to go forward.
It was so close there, and I don't think they were done, Infernos. I think it was looking rough for the side of Carroll, but I don't think that they were done with that fight. I don't think they were done with the push. Bittervet was alive with both one support there, I believe. Toward the end, I think the other fell. Was there with one support, had 173 charge to his name, and was trying to kill that Valkyrie Mercy. However, during that exchange, ended up getting off point, relied on his teammates to stay there, and as you mentioned, everyone got off just briefly. With the way overtime works, that's all it takes, and unfortunately it ticks down in about a half C9. You know, I wouldn't say a full-on C9, but we're about halfway there with that one. Bittervet needed to stay alive with all that charge, did so, but unfortunately had to stay on payload as well. And look at what the defense is showing up with this time, Infernos. I see a robot that can put out a lot of damage quickly, and I don't mean the one that looks like a horse.
Yes, they're bringing out the robot dynamic duo for their side, trying everything they can. They've been struggling so far, and hopefully this defensive hold will be better. I've said we will see bastions on this site, on this map, I should say. This isn't Rainbow Six Siege. We will see bastions on this map. It's just something that's going to have a high presence on this high ground, and this is exactly what's going to go have into it. Orisa with the shields and Sigma with the ability to rotate them out as well. That double shield combination of being able to throw those out constantly will be that support that your Bastion needs, but they'll be taken out too quickly. They'll need to take a little bit of a step backwards. Silent needs to resituate themselves a little bit quicker, but it's not going to matter. They're pushing swiftly. They'll charge them. Silent will fall. Mortis does not care about what the opposition is trying, and he's going to continue to go forward, swinging in every direction, full heals. Nothing they can do about it as he takes out the red T in tow. Laskadu falls to Herbie. Martis rotates back to melee some more. Spackles finds Immortal wins, and it's not going to matter. Spackles finds Bitter Vest. Firewolf will try to revive the red T, but is it a little bit too late? It definitely looks like it is. There is no chance for them at this moment. Biowolf's just trying to stay on where she can, but it's not going to matter. They're going to just hold it, push it, and it's going to be a victory now for, of course, Champlain College JV's team. 2-1 maps here, and that's exactly what you want to see. Not a shutout. They manage their own.
I love it, Infernos. They don't give up. They take it all the way to the end, and they get their one map differential. They needed it there as they did lose the series, but let's look at this play of the game from Herbie. Constantly at max charge here. You see coming in at 80, right there 99 toward the end. Good tracking as well, just fragging out, and I think a lot of it was the Herbie show as well as Duncan, just able to pop off on their respective heroes, whether it be that Zarya, whether it be, you know, as we mentioned, the Roadhog on Numbani, Duncan on the Hanzo, briefly on the Junkrat, was it? Junkrat? That Hanzo? Yeah. Junkrat as well as Immortal wins. I mean, all the DPS really showing off. However, I love the fight there from Champlain College. I understand you don't win the series. I got to give it up to Carroll. They take the 2-1. They take the series, move up as far as a record is concerned with another victory. However, Champlain College wins my heart coming at the end of that, just for fighting to the end.
I do have to worry now, though. In the process of all this, we get to choose and vote for who's MVP. And while frankly, you have to face off against everybody else that's gone in the day, and I don't know if any of these players would necessarily beat out Game 1's MVP, but If I'm going to vote for any MVP in this one, I've got to give it to either Immortal or Duncan. The tanks were all right, but it was fairly even across the board for those tank battles. But it was the differential between the Hanzos and the difference between those Junkrats that really came into their own. So those battles, the Junkrat battle and the Hanzo battles, were like the pivotal points for each of these engagements. Who would you vote for in this situation?
I think I would either go Immortal Wins for the Junkrat play. I would go Silent for really popping off on the Widowmaker, as well as the Hanzo in the earlier maps. I think what we like to do as casters so often is we're like, hey, this is what happened the last map, so this is my favorite because I just saw this in front of my eyes. However, if we go back to Silent on Numbani, it just could have full held there. If there wasn't an unfortunate 1v1 with Kayatana, and I'll give it up to Kayatana. She took that
MVP
1v1. She earned
Kayatana
it.
right there.
Yep,
We know it.
we're settled.
We
We're
got
settled.
it. Kayatana MVP. It's set in.
However, when you move forward after that, the first tank that comes to mind isn't the Red T. It's not Martist. Both did well in their respective main tanks, but it comes down to Herbie and it comes down to Bittervet. I think you're inclined to immediately go with the winning team, right? So Bittervet moving into the backline constantly on the Roadhog there on Dorado, the constant high charge Zarya that you saw so frequently. I'm torn. I'll let you decide for me. I'm between Bittervet and I'm between Silent.
It's a good call.
That's true. I've thrown out Immortal Wins. I forgot that was your favorite. I've thrown that out.
No, that's totally fine. Honestly, Silent had a phenomenal showing all around. When you do
Definitely.
think about second map, it was disgusting to behold. I mean, really, you had to get a 1v1 to lose it, right? That's what it
Exactly.
took to lose it. That's how
Exactly. Yeah.
dominant it was. I would give it to Silent because of
Okay.
map 2, but it's close. I mean, it's like a 2% differential in my head just because of how dominant we saw the tank line be. I mean, come on. There's just nothing you can do. The Red T was kind of evened out with the opposition of Martis, but Bittervat just showed up. There was
Rock,
a
paper,
lot going
scissors.
on. Just everything they picked was successful for them. So I really love to behold that.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Rock, paper, scissors. All right, on
Yeah.
shoot.
Me Silent and you Bittervet.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Okay. All right.
On
Shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
What is that? Paper?
Mine's paper. Mine's
I'm
paper. So you
scissors.
got it. You
All
got
right.
it. So that's Bittervet. Bittervet's
Bittervet.
your MVP here for the NECC. Goes to Carroll University. Bittervet. I love it. It's a good pick. It's a good pick. Well deserved. Well deserved.
Absolutely. Yep. But that's all the time we have for this one. We'll go to the next game. I actually think Unicorn, are you doing that next game as
Hanging
well?
out. Yep. I'm still here.
All right, you're staying out here. I have been Infernosis, 2 games back to back, having a good time. Hopefully you'll enjoy Unicorn's next cast, as I know I will as well, watching that one. This has been NECC, and we'll be right back with your next game coming up right real soon.
What sound experience would you like today?
I'll have the fantasy pack.
Good choice.
And could you make it a Cloud 2 wireless?
On his way, sir.
Sounds amazing.